There are times when the world is best seen from a hilltop of an old lava flow tens of miles from the nearest collection of humanity. Here, long history collides with the present moment in unpredictable ways. At certain moments, 2 million years ago, this spot was alternately sending forth red splatters of rock like giant Roman candles, and andesite lavas flowing up from vents in long vertical cracks, coming from deep in the molten mantle. The rock tells the story, following the ascending volcanic dike to its crest. A wall of the red, pebbly splatter rock lay hard against the cold andesite lava that had long ago flowed up and poured out, building this hill and flowing into the surrounding basins. But the land is now only a collection of clues, if that is how one sees it, or it is what it is, hills and valleys, temporary streams and canyons. As I walked and scrambled up the broken piles of rock toward the top of the old dike, a mule deer whistled below, telling all and sundry that I was there. A few minutes later it whistled again, and then once more. I had seen her tracks quite fresh in a hidden curve of the dike wall lower down, and wondered how nearby she might be. The sound was strikingly familiar, like the hands-clap whistle that my son uses to call his dog, and for a moment I searched the valley below with binoculars looking for some other human walking in this remote place. Later, as I returned to my evening spot, the deer hopped out of hiding, crossed the valley, and disappeared into the tiny trees of an adjoining hillside. I watched its hindquarters disappear into heavy cover, and then, like the closing scene from Harry and the Hendersons, parts of several deer appeared briefly in the spaces between the trees and just as rapidly disappeared into the tall brush. As I sat on the top of the tall hill, sat on the lava that had been, all those many years ago, 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, pushing up out of the earth, making a terrible mess of this place. It would have been catastrophe for the plants and animals living here. But the serenity and beauty of the present moment would not let me delve too far into the conflagration that visited and built this place millions of years ago. Hundreds of square miles and hundreds of volcanic vents like the one upon which I sat. The serenity and beauty of this place and this moment also formed a mansion of experience in which to contemplate the present conflagration that was flowing in, not only from several miles away, but from hundreds of vents spread literally over the whole surface of the earth. Not to be too dramatic, though perhaps unavoidably, the lights of Los Alamos shine down on this place. Oppenheimer, Groves, Teller, and many others have seen this landscape from their physical and intellectual eyrie as they plotted the potential futures of the world. The atomic and hydrogen bombs born on the pyroclastic ash flows from a supervolcano. But this was not on my mind more than as the recollection of the previous color of a well-known room. No, on this hilltop looking out over the valleys and hills of this old volcanic shield, seeing the lights of Los Alamos to the west, Santa Fe to the east, and the glow of Albuquerque to the south. It was the class war of the worlds that came into focus. Sitting there at the crest of the long volcanic dike as the sun was setting, a geological feature called a hogback, my lack of being alone was more than palpable. It was reality. The doe just down the hill was, without question, giving my presence her attention. This was the center of the range of a mountain lion that I had once caught napping in a shaded canyon. Though unseen, coyotes were coming out to hunt all around me and would sing to me later in the evening, and all the smaller mammals, skunks, cottontails, jacks, and various rats and mice. I listened for them, watched the changing light define and undefine the landscapes in which they were certainly walking, stalking, and secreting themselves. Ravens flew in 2 by 2, calling to each other, swinging by overhead to have a look, and treating me to the whoosh, whoosh of their wing beats. I was of little interest, though, far from their cliffs, and had no visible long gun, a recognition that they make most readily. Other than their occasional sounds, the rest was an embracing silence. These partners in the experience of the moment were also part of my considerations. I was with companions in this place, not far away from real life under the twinkling lights. I was here on purpose to be with the creatures of the desert hills. I was here to feel my life in communion with theirs, seeking a different context. I was here to be free of language, to be hungry for every sound, every sight of movement, here to be free of level floors and paths, to walk on the uneven earth, here to be free of comfort, here to feel the cold wind, to have to shield my eyes from the low-angled sun. I sat on the hilltop and felt my way through the wash of subverbal ideas. The 100,000 people in the valley, east, west, north, and south, were an anxiety, an empathy. As I looked around beyond the low hills, their lives, hopes, and dreams rushed by like a super-speed fast-forward, all montaged together, as in a bad movie. Reaching out beyond the hills, beyond the Rio Grande Valley, beyond the western high plains to the coasts, and on over the oceans. A million voices in the whoosh, whoosh of the raven's wing flew the wordless thoughts through my mind. This is to be heard as a single burst, like the spark from a steel on flint. Humans possess biological capacities that have been adapted into very powerful designs and have lost control of the power that changes the world around them. And some humans have collected to themselves such vast power that a madness has been created in them beyond all help. All the behaviors, instincts, and feelings that matter have been swept aside by the domination of physical spaces, ability to carry out almost any desired domination and control of other people. Feelings of omnipotence and omniscience, the madness of power over others rather than the communion of common purpose. Of all the complexity in the human world, our situation comes down to a class of humans acting in every possible circumstance to advance their interests without regard to the costs that are inflicted on living others in the future. As long as there is a significant surplus of material and services available, the native design of the human species will move some of its members to try to collect that excess to their control. This creates the basis for an escalating process of wealth accumulation with primate hierarchical social patterns transforming into aberrant power-dominated class systems. If life can't be imagined except within the circle of those distant lights, the whole package of goods must be accepted: mining, smelting, manufacturing, retailing, economic growth, progress, wealth accumulation, and power, the overcoming of meaninglessness with the meaningless. How is it possible to live without the light switch, without unlimited access to TV, refrigeration, Wi-Fi, year-round 50 degrees Fahrenheit, regardless of ambient temperature, unlimited choices and supplies of food and consumer goods? Who and how many would give these up willingly? And in these questions lies the understanding of the elite. Who and how many would willingly give up the power to have and do as they wish, to live with absolute impunity? And what actions would be taken to maintain such power? It is so clear from this hilltop that great wealth must not be in private hands, that human hands must belong to the same class, the human class, that the amount of wealth extracted and sequestered outside of the movement of environmental processes must be reduced to the barest minimum. The human pleasures of life, and there are many, must and do come primarily from communion with our fellows, both human and non-human. We must again learn to distrust inventions of behavior and objects that separate us. All of this and more will come, if it comes at all, with the greatest of effort, pain, and great good luck. As I sat on the hilltop, all of these thoughts went through my mind as movements of emotion, as wordless sensations guided by the far-off city lights. What was real was the doe below me in the cactus meadow. We were both occupying the same space in the desert hills with our similarities and differences. She was about 170 pounds, young, strong, sharp eyes, ears, sense of smell, fleet of foot and dangerous with sharp hooves. She knew the terrain, the plants, where to find water, the dangers from mountain lions, coyotes, and humans. I am about 170 pounds, old and strong enough in a weak sort of way. I could not hop across the 200 meters to the trees on the near hillside in a few seconds. I have weak eyes that need prosthesis, My hearing has been damaged by years of noisy places. I can still smell things placed under my nose. I know the area in a general sort of way. I can be dangerous and very fast using human tools. I can build a fire. I can think ahead. And unlike my companions here, I can leave this place if I wish. The doe belongs here. Her lineage almost certainly goes back thousands of years in this general area, perhaps 1,500 generations. 1,500 generations for me would include the episodic pulses out of the African cradle, the cave painters of southern Europe, the explorers of West Asian steppes, and the intrepid probers at the Beringia Passage to North America. Not only do I bring the ideas and concerns of the present world to this hilltop, but also the generational history of a good part of the earth. Where I belong is a matter of conjecture. The deer should whistle a warning again and again, louder and louder until all can hear it. This was written 14 years ago, and today requires a new closing. Los Alamos National Laboratory and the National Nuclear Security Administration are proposing a major electrical power line to cross the Caja del Rio plateau, right through this place, right through there. There are three primary concerns. One is the damage to a unique natural area, a concern which the proposal has only very weakly addressed, and which is intended to have little influence in decisions. Two, it is an area with great cultural significance to the pueblos of surrounding indigenous people. And three, there would be violations of existing legally established Forest Service use restrictions. Specifically rejected from consideration are the objections to the nuclear mission of LANL and the broader aesthetic and spiritual values of the place to humans generally.